was all worth it.
We'll make up for it, don't worry. Some are usually late. Okay, let's see. All right, we'll call to order the regular business meeting of the Board of Education for Monday, July 22nd to order. If I could ask everyone to please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. The summer's flying by. Won't be long until the first day of classes is upon us. Right? Another, how many weeks? 4?
Yeah, about.
Okay. I look forward to the opening day breakfast. I hear there's some special events planned. Okay. Let's see. Let's start with roll call, please.
Stephen Arthur.
Here.
Jim Batson.
Here.
Alex Delipolli.
Here.
Pat Gertie.
Here.
Karen Lundstedt. Ellen Mauer. Bill Ratzer.
Okay, so we have Bill Ratzer, Ellen Mauer, and Karen Lundstedt all absent. Bill coming, do we know? We know the other two are not. Okay, so he may still join us. All right, but we have the necessary form. All right, let's look at the agenda. First of all, the public hearing to consider the proposal for renewal of the waiver modification for driver's education fees. And the President's report, Superintendent's report, will offer anybody from the public a chance to speak if they would like to. We will approve the consent vote agenda, have updates from program and personnel, facilities and finance. Just a couple comments from me on a recent committee of the whole meeting. No real update on property committee, I believe, right, Steve? Okay, we will not have anything to update on CEDAW tonight, nor Illinois Association of School Boards, nothing. And then we'll adjourn. Okay, so relatively brief agenda. Yes, thank you. All right. Before I proceed, let me appoint Alex Delipolli as Secretary Pro Tem. Okay.
And Pat, before we move on to the public hearing, we have a couple of guests with us this evening. Russell Lissow from the Daily Herald, who has covered us forever in the newspaper, and then we have a representative here from Carol Senti's office.
Welcome.
So good to see you.
Okay. Everybody ready? All right, so I declare the public hearing for the waiver of driver's education fees open. To consider a proposal for renewal of the waiver for modification of driver's education fees. All right. Who's going to review the proposal?
Yes, you want to do the overview on that, on the driver's ed?
Sure, I can. It was about 5 years ago that the Board of Education approved the initial waiver for modifications of driver education fees. This was to address the fact that at that time the code said the amount of fees that any school district could charge was $50. And any increases beyond $50 had to be approved by the Board of Education through this process. Since then, the code has been modified, and the amount has been moved up from $50 to $250. School District 128 has been charging about $195 for the past at least 4 years that I recall, and there is no request at this time to increase those fees. However, we would like to continue our waiver and put it back in place after 5 years it expires. So we want to make sure that we have the ability to do that should we ever need to. So it is basically just an extension of our waiver, but not a request to change the fees as they stand today.
So the fees as they stand today are $190?
Not $195.
Okay.
Yes.
We want to keep them at 195. This waiver just gives us a 5-year window that if we wanted to raise them in that 5-year window, we could, but we don't intend to.
And our current waiver says 250 is the maximum.
The current law is
State.
250. So
Current
we are
law,
not
okay.
even up to what is allowed by school code.
Okay, so if we did nothing over the next 5 years, we could raise this to 250, no
Correct.
questions asked. We
Yes.
currently charge 195. We just want a little more headroom to go to 350 over the next 5 years.
Correct.
Because there have been discussions about eliminating any kind of state support for driver education or any changes that may come. So if we ever need to in the next 5 years, at least we don't have to go through this
Just gives us the
process.
flexibility to do that. And now we can do it in a one-time shot, like our other waivers,
Holidays.
we can now do it for a longer period of time. So it gives us the flexibility to do that. Doesn't mean we have to do it, just gives us the flexibility to do it.
So to be clear, we're not recommending any increase in the current
No,
fee
we're not.
structure, we're just
Yes.
Correct.
increasing the headroom on the waiver.
Okay. And just so, honestly, take advantage of the opportunity to let the public know, public driver's education these days costs, or private driver's education?
It's probably about $350 to $400. I do know that when we did our estimates as to what it cost for us to offer one unit of, one class, obviously you have more than one student in there, it's close to $12,000 for us. So
Yeah.
you could have 8 students or you could have 20 students in there.
Okay.
So providing the districts like ours continue to provide required driver's education is a great community service. It's an expensive community service, but it is a great community service. Agreed, Jazz?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Okay. All right. Any further educator comments? I assume those comments qualify for the educator comments, right? All right. Any comments from parents or further testimony? No? Okay. In that case, I will declare the hearing closed.
Okay.
Great. All right. President's report, I have really nothing in particular, so we'll move right on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, superintendent's report, because it is summer. We do have a couple pieces of good news, but not as much as we normally have during this period of time. 3 Vernon Hills High School students have been selected to the cast and crew of the 2014 Illinois High School Theater Festival's All-State Play. Senior Douglas Millar will be in the cast, and senior Alex Nelson and sophomore Scott Nyer will be on the crew as well. This year's play, John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, will mark Alex Nelson's second All-State production. He was also on the crew for last year's All-State production of Memphis, so congratulations to Doug, Alex, and Scott. U.S. News and World Report has ranked Vernon Hills High School 94th among the top U.S. science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, high schools. VHHS is one of only 7 high schools to make the top 100 schools. U.S. News evaluated 500 gold medal public schools from its 2013 Best High Schools rankings using advanced placement STEM test data for 2011 graduates as their benchmark. Of those schools, 250 earned a numerical rank for their STEM achievement. In its 2013 Best High School ranking, U.S. News ranked VHHS 19th in the state and 485th in the country. So, Ellen, congratulations to you and your team, in particular, your science and math teachers. So great job all the way around. Very exciting. Okay, next on the superintendent's report is the proposal for renewal of waiver modification for driver's education fees. And as noted from our hearing that was just completed, the administration is recommending your passage of our request to renew the waiver modification for driver's education fees once again. It simply gives us the flexibility to raise fees in the next 5 years if we would have to, but does not increase the fees from the current $195 per year. So I'd be looking for a motion, and then a second, any discussion, and a vote on our recommendation.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Arthur,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Delli Polly,
Aye.
and Grudy.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, last on the superintendent's report this evening is, as the board will note, we had one FOIA request this month. And Dr. Grudy, that completes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Okay, none. Next, can I ask for a motion to approve the consent vote agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Batson,
Aye.
Delli Polly,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Arthur.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Program and Personnel Committee, you want me to take it, Jim, or you want to?
He's F and F.
Oh, sorry, my
Yeah.
mistake. So that's right.
Yeah, why don't you
My
go
mistake.
ahead.
Okay, I got it. We did review enrollment projections earlier this evening in the Program and Personnel Committee meeting. Looking at the next 5 years, I think we're projecting increases in student enrollment on the order of 50 to 100 students overall for both schools for the entire district, not perceived to be anything significant with respect to impact on facilities or staff. We had asked for just a brief update on that, and we will be reviewing that data in more detail as we study those incoming reports. Okay? Educational tour requests, there was one for LHS band performances and workshops in Southern California next spring during the month of March. Could I ask for a motion to approve that band trip in March?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Delli Polly.
Aye.
Grudy.
Aye.
Arthur.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Facilities and Finance Committee meet now. Chairperson.
Okay. Now it's my turn. We have a few items here. The FY14 tentative budget, and I think we just have to vote to approve the tentative budget so we can continue working on that.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? As we discussed earlier, so that tentative budget is for $84,538,409, just to clarify that. Okay, any other discussion?
Do we want to mention the hearing?
We'll mention that actually.
Further
With the
down.
budget hearing? You have a date for it? Is that
Is that the August
August
12th?
12th?
August 12th?
August 12th
Okay.
budget hearing. Thank you.
So we'll review any and all details on the budget at the hearing on August 12th. Okay? Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Grudy.
Aye.
Arthur.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
Delli Polly.
Aye.
Okay, we have a slight increase in rental labor charges. These are the charges for when we rent space. It's the labor that, when we're supporting outside groups or individuals renting our space. Do we want any further detail on this from?
Yes, any other comments you want to make on that?
No, we determine the rates annually by looking at what we are paying our own employees, and then determine a rental rate based on some other charges that are passed on to us, for instance, having to pay into IMRF, Social Security, or Medicare. So each year the rate will fluctuate just a little bit.
So these are to compensate our staff who have to work these events
That is
to
correct,
assist
yes.
whatever group is renting the facility, so. Okay, so we need a motion in a second.
Motion.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Arthur.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
Delli Polly.
Aye.
Grudy.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, we have a bid recommendation for transportation for students with special needs.
As discussed a little earlier at our F&F committee meeting, we received 4 bids for our transportation for students with special needs. The low bid was from City Care Transportation from Northbrook, Illinois. This particular group has been providing us the same service for the past 4 years. And our recommendation this year is to approve the bid from City Care. We are still working with them on getting the appropriate certificate of insurance to meet both the state mandated and district required minimum liability coverages. But beyond that, the bid is ready to be approved by you tonight.
So, we need to make the motion that it's contingent upon them
Yes, please.
getting state required insurance certification? Okay.
We have a motion, a second.
So moved.
Second?
Contingent upon receiving the state approval.
Second?
Any discussion?
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Batson.
Aye.
Delli Polly.
Aye.
Grudy.
Aye.
Arthur.
Aye.
Okay, and we have one item under other. Do we need a vote on the donation document?
That was done under the consent agenda, I
Okay.
believe.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, is that it?
That concludes.
Okay. All right, so just a few comments. About a week ago, we did have a committee of the whole meeting for the purposes of a couple things. One, to review the budget in some detail. I think we met for over 3 hours that night discussing next year's budget. And you'll certainly hear more about that at the upcoming hearing in August. We also spent a fair amount of time talking about major capital projects in the district, and in particular address the needs really in 5 particular areas. One, we're working on an overall site plan for the district and all the facilities, but the major items that have require more attention is Libertyville High School pool. Many of you may know there's a long history with the pool. We continue to have a number of, I'll call them issues. They're not necessarily issues, but the Libertyville pool, I think, continues to be very expensive to maintain, and it has a number of shortcomings with respect to meeting the needs of the programs that we run in those pools, or in that pool. So that's one significant facility item that we're actively addressing. Second, the original design for Vernon Hills High School had an additional gym, which was not added at the time we built that high school, which is now, what, 11, 12 years old? And so we've also targeted to address some of the facilities needs in that space as well. And simultaneously, both at Libertyville and at Vernon Hills, we want to address ongoing needs for dance and cardio facilities, which are also not adequately really served in the current facilities.
Weight training.
And weight training, correct. Third, we have initiated, or I'll say reinitiated, some discussions amongst board members with respect to what options we are considering for the Brainerd property. I want to make it clear that we continue to support the efforts of the Brainerd Preservation Committee and continue to hope those efforts are successful. But it is possible over the next year or so that those activities may come to a conclusion. And if so, we want to just be in the position to be ready to do what we think is the most or the best alternate use of that property. And so we're exploring a number of alternatives there, including using that as green space for other athletic needs that we've addressed on that space. Fourth, we're addressing the, shall I say, ultimate solution to the former district administration building. And the possibility actually of removing that facility and repurposing that land. So that's one of the 5 key things we're looking at. And then last but not least, we continue to explore some opportunities to acquire some facility or some property in the vicinity of Libertyville High School, which we think has some long-term strategic needs. So we're addressing these things because from a number of perspectives, one, from a financial resource perspective, we think it's prudent to do so. 2, the economic conditions continue to be somewhat favorable for addressing some of these capital projects. And so what we've asked the administration to do is to go and explore those 5 projects in more detail and come back and discuss with us a plan that we would tend to address over the next 3 to 5 years with respect to which of those projects we do and exactly how we do those. Okay?
And I would just make one more comment that as the board is having these discussions, based on the work we've done in our long-range financial planning over the past 5 or 6 years, and the generosity of the taxpayers in terms of working with us and funding 2 world-class high schools, the board continues to do a really in-depth job in terms of managing taxpayer resources. But as we discuss these projects, the board is having no conversation about the running of a referendum to finance these projects as part of this conversation at this point. I think that's important I think that's very important for the taxpayers to know. As we work through that, as we plan for this over the past few years, working with our long-range financial plan. So I just wanted to make that point as well.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody else on the meeting last week? Okay. Let's see. All right. No property committee, no CEDO, no Illinois
I
Association.
do have one thing now that I've had a chance to think about this. For Illinois Association of School Boards, in your packet, just as a reminder, there's a notice here about the III, the Joint Conference, the Illinois Association of School Administrators, Illinois Association of School Boards, and the Illinois Association of School Business Officials. It's a joint conference held in November, and there's a document in here. Please fill it out if you're interested in attending that conference in Chicago in November.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Can I ask for motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks very much.